During the International Mother Earth celebration in 2022, the United Nations declared that we are currently in the midst of a triple planetary crisis of climate disruption, nature and biodiversity loss, and pollution and waste. There are various pieces of evidence and observable datasets linking human activities emitting greenhouse gases as the main culprit of the intensified and rapid widespread impacts of climate change. Human influence plays a pivotal role in pursuing various actions to preserve, conserve, and reverse the environmental sinkholes we are currently in. Tackling the various socio-ecological issues of our time in the context of environmentalism requires far more than transformation at a personal level. It calls for actors from various scales coming together to advocate the shared goal. As we mobilize various tools to further our advocacies for the environment, we look into community organizing and its contribution to such cause. There is no shortage of knowledge banks highlighting the various successes alongside the challenges of initiatives by people coming together and pursuing a shared goal. We look at how community organizing evolves over time to address the changing dynamics of our world and how can it potentially scale up the needed efforts. As a phenomenon, community organizing has expanded its presence in various issues of the world. This report focuses on its use in the environmental advocacy context. In the Walking Through observation with community leaders and members, we aim to observe their day in a life to explore the challenges of the community. As we explore the lives of the community members, we shall interact with the members of the community from various demographic profiles, understanding their views on what and why these challenges are experienced by them. In an attempt to craft viable solutions to these challenges, we will provide a venue to hear the community members' interpretation of the problems and their individual ideas to solve the issue. We will facilitate the use of indigenous knowledge in framing these solutions. Community organizing is a term used to encompass the various efforts where residents or players in close proximity are coming together to collaborate in exploring and pursuing collective actions to address social issues being felt mutually. According to Christensen Spear, it is pursued largely aiming to change policies and promote betterment of the organizing members and the general public. Community organizing typically involves grassroots efforts to achieve its coveted goals on social, political, or environmental change. The organizers will help empower the members, form networks, and pursue ways to influence decision makers, raise awareness, and mobilize resources to solve their issues. In the Southeast Asian region where the Philippines is located, most of the early community-driven environmental promotions were emanating from the indigenous communities. We focus our observation in Barangay Calawitan, which occupies 531 hectares of the total land area of the town of Claveria in the province of Misamis Oriental in Mindanao, Philippines. Sitting on an elevation of 467 meters above sea level, the people currently living in the community trace their roots from the merging of two cultures between the Higaonon tribes of Mindanao and the people from coastal areas of Misamis Oriental, coined as the Dumagats. Farming is the major source of income of the people in Barangay Calawitan. A large part of the population in the Barangay Calawitan lives below poverty line. This is shared on average by the whole town of Claveria, Misamis Oriental, where about 90% of the population falls below the regional poverty threshold of 6,000 pesos income per month. In the engagements we had made with the community leaders and members of Barangay Calawitan, we have identified several challenges in the community that they face day in and day out. But the top two that stand out are access to clean water and inefficient and ineffective use of natural resources. Access to safe drinking water is one of the 17 goals adopted by the United Nations in its 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Barangay Calawitan clearly has a prevailing issue on access to safely managed drinking water, as large volume of their water is sourced from makeshift deep well called a tabay. Water lines have been installed by the local government of the town, but this is proved to be unreliable and has even questionable quality and source. Some families buy mineralized water delivered to them regularly from the town, which will cost them a fortune. This trade of costly mineralized water is not sustainable for a community where a big chunk of the population is living below poverty line. On the issue of low natural resources productivity, in the 1950s, Calawitan was hosting a timberland in a small Higaonan tribal community. Over the years, this community, alongside the rich biodiversity hosted by the small yet vibrant timberland, declined until urbanization has fully taken over. Though part of this fate can be associated with a lack of support from the government, difficulty of life, and many more, but certainly the mismanagement of the rich natural resource of the place had brought us the present day challenges of the community. Aside from the land conversion, mismanagement of a small river in the barangay is also a many decades long issue. The community seems to ignore the importance of the river in their barangay and fails to include it in their environmental and economic agenda. The ecosystem services which the community are deriving from the river are very limited, which also resulted to less appetite to develop and manage it. The suboptimal use of the natural resources in Barangay Calawitan from the past until the present, coupled with the rapid urbanization issues, are increasingly hampering the residents' journey in alleviating their lives from poverty and provide for a bright future for the generations to come. In the process of understanding the issues of the community to be able to craft viable solutions, various stakeholder engagements have been taken and solutions collectively identified in. Both key issues were identified to be requiring strong political will from the community leaders, as well as support from the local government if long-lasting solutions are to be implemented. The solutions identified are mobilizing community support in facing these issues, lobbying the local government for support, working with private businesses, training of community leaders, physical implementation of the following: repair and improvements of legacy wells, setting up the 2 additional wells, cleanup and improvement of the river, tree planting activities, followed by community evaluation, tracking and monitor. These actions will require community, government, and private partnerships. The community members of Barangay Calawitan are optimistic that if they work together and in partnership with various government and non-government organizations, they can surpass and withstand the various challenges of the present times. They have already seen the loss of their biodiversity, including the loss of a once rich culture and tradition practiced by the early Higaonan settlers of the community. They are all in agreement that they can no longer afford to witness another extinction of their community and the natural resources providing their daily needs.